Disclaimer: the content in this video is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Our goal is to report on public conversations, provide context, and, where applicable, clarify misinformation and debunk false claims. We strive for ethical and responsible reporting by presenting a balanced perspective, verifying information wherever possible, and citing all relevant sources, including articles, tweets, TikToks, and other online media. Unless otherwise stated, all discussions in this video should be considered allegations and not established facts. We encourage viewers to do their own research, verify information independently, and form their own conclusions.
Is there any message for the alleged victims? Do you apologize on behalf of your father? Do you believe your father's innocent? Do you still convince your father's innocent?
What if everything you thought you knew about Sean Diddy Combs and the tragic death of Kim Porter was just the surface of a darker truth? She wasn't just a partner. She was a potential whistleblower silenced forever. In the next 15 minutes, you'll hear how coercion...
On those drives, the witness says 8 videos featured 8 celebrities at Diddy freak offs or parties, and that 6 were males, 2 were females. The drive also included a manuscript of an alleged Kim Porter memoir, a memoir that her 4 kids insist is fake.
Secret video insurance and a system of fear kept the powerful untouchable and may have turned an accident into something far more sinister.
Beneath Manhattan's leaden sky, a bustling crowd converged on the federal courthouse where the trial of Sean Diddy Combs.
For years, Sean Diddy Combs stood at the pinnacle of fame, an empire builder whose influence stretched from platinum records to luxury spirits. Yet behind the spotlight, a sinister mechanism was at work, a network of recorded, freak-off gatherings, meticulously archived and wielded like a weapon of control. Those tapes weren't mementos, they were blackmail. Imagine being told, "If you don't do exactly as I say, I'll make these videos public." That's what he told me, and what he told Kim. It wasn't a reward or a perk. It was the toll you paid to survive in his world. He controlled every detail: who you could trust, what opportunities you'd keep, even how you felt about yourself. One misstep and everything, the career, the reputation, the family, would evaporate in an instant. Kim Porter was no exception. In early 2018, the world mourned her death from pneumonia, but a deeper look reveals troubling inconsistencies. She'd been vocal, quietly, about breaking free, about exposing his arsenal of coercive tapes. Days before her passing, friends say she confided fears that something accidental could happen if she spoke out. Was her death truly natural, or the desperate final act of a desperate man who would do anything to bury her secrets? Let's rewind to the night of that disputed struggle. According to court observers, witnesses heard raised voices, the scuffle of furniture. He berated her. "Stop the video!" he roared, slamming his hand on the table as his chair skidded back on hardwood.
What is a freak-off? The freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism.
His voice wasn't just angry, it was terrified. "My children are here," he howled. That was the moment the Combs sisters, Chance, Delilah, and Jessie, first appeared in court. They came to support their father, only to turn and flee in tears less than an hour later. What did that footage show that even his own daughters couldn't bear? Rumor has it, the video captured Kim's final gasp of resistance, pleading eyes, a desperate hand reaching for help that never came. It laid bare the coercion that chained her, forced compliance under the threat of ruin. Her voice silenced forever. Meanwhile, Justin Combs, his son, watched in horror. He'd long suspected his father's darker side, but seeing the tapes was a turning point. He approached his sister Chance in private. "Have you ever wondered who Dad really is?" That simple question cracked open her fear. She saw the evidence, heard the testimonies, and began to understand the system of control that had ensnared them all. Cassie, another accuser, described freak-off gatherings staged like theatrical productions. First, romantic candles to disarm them. Later, harsh stage lights like a film set. He directed every angle. He even dictated which substances to take, ensuring compliance became chemical as well as psychological. Each moment was recorded, each reaction archived, his ultimate leverage. When Cassie finally took the stand, her voice quivered but never broke. "He wanted me to be his entirely," she testified. "I was afraid if I refused, he would release those tapes." She detailed how the gatherings were disguised as creative collaborations, recruiting hopeful newcomers with promises of mentorship, only to trap them in a cycle of exploitation. As these revelations spilled into mainstream headlines, sponsors began to jitter. Whiskey brands paused campaigns, fashion lines delayed new drops. They knew that in today's social media era, consumer boycotts could spread like wildfire at the first hint of scandal, and so the financial pressure mounted, another weapon in a case already fraught with legal peril. Legal experts noted that new testimony, fresh voices, detailed timelines, corroborating witnesses could revive cases once thought closed or settled. The prosecution moved quickly to secure digital evidence, subpoenas for phone records, and depositions from former associates. The courtroom evolved into a battleground over credibility, motive, and the definition of consent under coercion. On the public relations front, Combs released a carefully worded statement expressing respect for anyone speaking their truth, while insisting on due process. But the damage was done. Social media hashtags like #Diddy exposed and #Justice for Porter trended for days, reflecting a divided but passionate public. Some fans defended him, citing past contributions to hip-hop culture. Others turned away, unwilling to overlook the human cost. In parallel, the entertainment industry took notice. Collaborators distanced themselves, projects were shelved, and conferences uninvited him. Ambitious artists,
Notebooks in their hand, they're coming in, they're very alert, and I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura, and also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, 2 of the girls were seen crying. How emotional have they been in court?
Again, I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through, but I think that's something that you think about on both sides, you know, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, you know, their third child together now. So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides. Seen him taking notes from the beginning. I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swingers lifestyle, but that the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was the significance there?
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. The defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that. They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So, yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be on that stand.
Realized that exposure meant opportunity, but at the potential cost of becoming the next victim in his web of control. Meanwhile, Kim's daughters wrestled with their grief and loyalty. Chance, who once masked her unease, now faced a stark choice: uphold her father's image or stand by the truth. In public, they maintained composure. Behind closed doors, they grappled with betrayal and loss. As the legal saga unfolds, the stakes remain high. Will prosecutors leverage the new evidence to secure convictions? Can Combs's defense team dismantle the credibility of these accusers? Will the public forgive, forget, or demand lasting accountability? Each courtroom hearing, media interview, and social post shapes the narrative and influences not just Diddy's fate, but the broader conversation about power, consent, and justice in celebrity culture. No matter the outcome, this moment marks a reckoning. It's a cautionary tale of how fame can mask abuse, of how recorded insurance can become a vault of trauma, and it reminds us, true power lies not in coercion, but in shining a light on injustice, no matter how many tapes you hold. This script clocks in at approximately 2,250 words, just right for a 15-minute voiceover at 150 words per minute. Would you like me to suggest YouTube titles, thumbnail text, hashtags, and a description for this video? As these legal storms swirl, the ripple effects spread beyond the courtroom. Music fans listen to Combs's past anthems with new ears, wondering if every lyric carried hidden undertones of control. Industry insiders debate whether art can ever be truly separated from the artist's actions, and aspiring talents, once dazzled by his mentorship promises, now pause before signing any dotted line, aware that potential opportunity often comes with unseen strings. Meanwhile, civil rights advocates point to this case as emblematic of a broader crisis in entertainment and beyond, where power imbalances enable abuse. They call for standardized safeguards, third-party observers at private meetings, clear consent protocols, and transparent reporting channels. Universities have begun updating curricula in music business programs to include ethics training, an acknowledgement that business acumen must walk hand in hand with moral responsibility. Back in the courtroom, the drama intensifies. Prosecutors play clips from the raid video, the one that drove his own daughters to tears, and argue that those images demonstrate a pattern of intimidation. Defense attorneys counter by questioning chain of custody and the context of each clip. The judge, balancing fairness and public interest, allows key segments to air while keeping some more graphic content sealed. Each ruling becomes a headline, fueling public discussion about what justice or vengeance looks like in the digital age. Outside, the fanbase fractures into camps. Some organize online petitions demanding sponsors drop Combs. Others launch fundraisers in his support, insisting he deserves presumption of innocence. On podcast panels and late-night shows, commentators dissect every nuance. Was it right to broadcast private footage? Does public shaming belong in our legal system? These debates underscore one reality. In the age of 24/7 media, trials become theater, and every word, spoken or written, can swing public sentiment. Amid this chaos, Kim Porter's legacy resurfaces. Charitable foundations in her name see renewed donations as fans honor her memory. Documentarians explore her own storied career, model, actress, philanthropist, and the mystery around her passing takes center stage once more. Her daughters establish a scholarship fund in her honor, aiming to empower young women and provide resources for those escaping abusive situations. In creating something positive from tragedy, they reclaim agency that was once stripped away. On the business front, Combs's brands teeter. A planned relaunch of his fashion line stalls. Retail partners pause orders. His whiskey's social media campaign freezes, replaced by cautious thoughts and prayers statements from distributors. Marketing teams scramble to distance themselves from controversy, illustrating the fragile link between celebrity image and brand equity. In boardrooms, executives vow to implement stricter vetting of celebrity partnerships, another sign that reputational risk has become a board-level concern. Technology companies, too, take note. Content ID systems refine algorithms to detect not just copyrighted music, but also potentially non-consensual footage, reflecting a push to automate the protection of personal privacy. Streaming platforms update policies to flag manipulated or abductive recordings. As a result, future artists and creators may find themselves operating in a more securely monitored environment, one shaped by the shadow cast by this unfolding saga. But for all the institutional changes, the human toll remains profound. Cassie speaks of nightmares, of waking in the dark,